just all the emotions of the past 9 years, yeah. And then the fact that you've actually got the King saying, "Thank goodness for people like you."
That is lovely. That is lovely.
No.
Yeah. Well, he's just copying the rest of us. And on this occasion, let me reiterate our thanks and for all the support you've given people who found themselves in a tricky situation in relation to the Portuguese government's process around post-Brexit and other things about which we might talk briefly today, because it's not over, is it, Tig?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, at the minute we've just had the they've just announced new, laws that they're thinking of putting through as regards citizenship, where, oh my goodness, where they're extending for anybody that isn't from the CPLP countries, the Portuguese colonies, basically, that now they will no longer be allowed to apply for citizenship after 5 years. It will be 10.
Yep.
CPLP, it's going to be 7 years, and also changing the family reunification rules, which I think is appalling, absolutely appalling.
Well, hold on, before you go there, forgive me, because that was a bit clunky of me to take you straight from the glory of receiving your MBE. So just a little bit of a lingering look. And congratulations on the actual reception, because we've been with you all the way, it feels like, on this journey of the award and now the investiture with the King, because you didn't know it was going to be King Charles, did you? You didn't know which member of the family it would be. So there you were, Buckingham Palace. You've got your MBE now, so congratulations. That's an amazing milestone. And as you're saying, onward and upward now. There's more work to be done, is there not, with this new citizenship thing? So. Are you getting calls already from Brits? I thought 5 years and that would be it. I've done my A2. I've done my 5 years. What now? So this is going to be in your intro, good and proper, is it not?
Oh, we've been inundated with people asking questions and should they go for it now. I mean, the thing is Portuguese laws normally take between 3 and 6 months to get put through.
Yep. They haven't messed about with this, have they?
But we don't know if it's actually legal, that what they can do to actually backdate it to, I think it was the 19th of June. We don't think they can do that. We don't think it's constitutional. So there'll be massive battles about it. But also what people need to be very, very aware of is the other thing that they're trying to put through is if it is family reunification, alterations to that. Now, the family reunification, I mean, people basically, if you've got residency, you can, if certain members of your family, you can ask if they can be, have reunification with you, like your wife, your spouse, your partner, husband, minor children, and all that sort of thing. What they're doing is they're changing it that you can only apply for family reunification once you have received and had your residency permit for 2 years. Now, the changes in that is, of course, before it was when you applied for residency and that, but this, I mean, bearing in mind, of course, IMA are taking years to even give you your residency permit. It could be years. So it's from when you receive it, not when you apply for it now. Right. If the laws go through, let's have that.
Well, they stalled on Friday. Now, we've been watching this at the Portugal Club. We've got a special thread of everything I can find, and including this interview, about the new citizenship proposal, which is what they are at the moment, will be documented over there. So we're doing our best to stay all over it and bring various sources in as reference points. And the most recent thing is our conversation with you this morning. But on Friday, it was stalled. The parliamentary discussion that many thought would just usher through these changes, and as you say, in record time, it felt like it stalled on Friday with this whole sort of, well, no one knows what's going to happen now, because it's just it's run aground, as it were. If it were a vessel, an ocean-going vessel, it has run aground. The father of the Constitution has got involved, I believe. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. But I don't know if you saw Daniel Reis of Reis and Pelicano, a Portuguese lawyer who's been handling, golden visas and citizenships and so on. He was really upset on behalf of foreigners who he thinks have been treated very badly. And there's obviously you would expect a political hot potato. There's a whole range of opinions on this, aren't there?
It's huge because, I mean, you know, you've got the rise of the far right again in Portugal, as we have in lots of places in Europe and the States and wherever. And I mean, of course, Chega are loving this because, I mean, the bill is specifically designed to reduce immigration. There's absolutely no doubts about that at all. Absolutely no doubts. But I mean, for people to come over to, you know, be already here and then have the rug pulled out them that they can't bring off this.
Yeah, this is what I don't think has been accounted for, because as a politician and as a bureaucrat, I suppose you're looking at numbers, and each of those numbers is a human story, and this is the problem now, isn't it? This is what's sinking in as I'm receiving it and understanding the effect on a human level. Is people came with a very different invitation, didn't they? The atmosphere was very different 5, 4, 3, even 3 and 2 years ago, and now it's like, well, no, you've got to do this, this, and this. You know, sorry, it's all, you know, all those things that you were attracted by are now being withdrawn. Tough, and you know, for understandably, people who are peeved with their own government, they're saying to the foreigners, aren't they? Well, you know, sorry, it's the law's the law, and there's a real lack of compassion in this situation, I think, developing.
But that was the whole thing with Brexit as well, though, wasn't it? And the whole thing with CEF, with IMA, as it stands at the moment. It's this absolute lack of compassion as to the consequences or lack of from IMA and CEF, because people have been left in dreadful situations.
Yes.
Dreadful. And it is down to one thing simply: understaffing. They haven't got the staff at IMA. They can't get through the workload. And bearing in mind, foreigners are paying for this service, and they're not, and they are being left where they can't get healthcare, they can't get anything, they can't get a job, they can't get housing because IMA. And then IMA, you know, sort of like the renewal of your residency permits. The date has just been, you know, extended, isn't it, to the 15th of October?
Yes.
So, fine for we'll just extend everybody the 15th of October. People have got expired permits from 2020.
Yes. 2020.
Yeah, that no institution will take.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is on a personal level. This is
it's absolutely disgraceful.
And that's what you've always responded to, I think, is with all the work you've been doing and for which you've got your MBE. And sadly, this, you know, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to be here kind of attitude is really unfortunate and unfair at the moment. And, you know, we understand if we extend compassion to the Portuguese people who are also subject to the inadequacies of their own government, you can understand why they are emotional and upset and a bit brash and short about it. But we got to kind of stick together in this, I think. And presumably that's a lot of what you have to do is like see what's the kind of heat in it and find out what's the light in it and work on that.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that isn't and hasn't been taken into consideration on this, I am being contacted by immigrants, and just that word immigrant, you know, sort of like will bring to mind all people that are poor, yada, yada. Absolutely not. I am being contacted now by people, many people who are high-end earners, highly skilled, who said, we're done. We've had it. And they're leaving. And they're taking all their skills because they've had enough of trying to just fight for their very basic needs. And they can just go anywhere they like. And they're saying, and I mean, I've got one guy, this is the 4th country he's worked in, very, very highly skilled. He said, I'm done.
Yes, and the service they want presumably is a clean exit strategy to just divest themselves of being here.
They just don't want to be here. They've said, we fought for so long, for years, to try and get what we're supposed to have, and we can't get it.
What a shame. What a shame.
Yeah. And he is not the first, and there are a number of people.
No, I'm hearing the same. I never thought this was going to happen. Tig, forgive me. I'm so kind of naive and have been so sort of positive about it all. And I hear a human, you know, I talk to somebody about their personal circumstances, and I'm thinking, oh no, I didn't expect to hear this. And it's unnecessary, isn't it? Because, like, fair enough. I really get that Portugal, the people, you know, the culture wants to maybe, you know, raise the bar, you know, go for better quality. I don't know what, you know, just have their country represented better in the world. because things have changed, and that's understandable, like kind of a self-respect, self-esteem issue. But you can't take it out on the people who helped you get to the where you've got now, where you want to change things. I think that's a shot in the foot. And if you're gonna change things, change maybe before you make all the announcements about what's going to happen. Upgrade the staff, have more staff, make the systems work, rather than say it's going to be more difficult and we still haven't got any staff. That's basically the scenario, isn't it? It's the worst of all worlds.
It is, and the thing is, of course, is sort of like your high investors, your high earners, you're highly skilled, and of course they're smart people,
right?
And of course they're coming in and they're going, sort of like, and they're asking all the right questions of the Portuguese government, all the right questions of all the different varying institutions, and they're being given answers, and then Portugal isn't delivering.
Yeah.
That's
and also it's a classic sort of gameplay, isn't it? It's like politicians are saying, well, it's everyone else's fault but our own. It's the last lot. It's those foreigners, or it's the world situation at the moment. And all of this it was meant to invest and fund, social housing, better infrastructure. We got people coming over who, like you say, there are people who are putting their wealth into the economy. You could forgive them for expecting some service for that, right? And also for the Portuguese people to get something out of that, which doesn't seem to be happening.
And the thing is as well, is, you've now got these people leaving. They are done. They have had enough. Can you imagine how many members of staff at IMA just one person would have funded?
Well, yeah, but I guess we know it doesn't work like that, does it? Those
economically in the foot is just sort of like the saying that I'm continually saying at the minute. They have so shot themselves in the foot with this. They have lost and are going to lose millions because they wouldn't fund, say, 50 people at IMA.
Yeah. And I suppose that there are the rest of us who are sufficiently invested and passionate and lovers of the culture and respectful of being here, who are going to be feeling this pressure and change in the next. I think it's going to be over the next few years, isn't it? That how this is all going to shake down.
I mean, the thing is I'm not going to be very popular when I say this.
You're used to that, together. From time to time, you do say you've got used to this, right? That's why you've got an MBE, I think.
Yeah. It is. I do think it's too easy in Portugal. Portugal is one of the easiest places.
No, that's what I'm saying. That it's right that it should be changed, but not like this.
But not retrospectively.
Yes, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
By all means, tighten up if you want high skills. Do it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you don't do it to. I mean, there's 1.6 million immigrants that they know of. So there's going to be at least 2 million in Portugal. There's going to be at least 2 million. Oh. So you have got 1.6 million legally here that have just had the rug pulled out from under them.
Yes. It's an incredible situation, Tig, and I suspect it's going to be just when you thought things were getting a little bit easier after the post-Brexit situation.
Every time.
You're going to have to get some more in trays. That's my advice, if I may.
I mean, it depends, I mean, you're talking about that guy in the government that was really, really annoyed about it. I mean, let's see.
Daniel's a lawyer. He's from Raising Pelicano. He's doing a webinar on Thursday, actually, at Expats Portugal webinar on Thursday, where he's going to go through it in a sort of lawyerly way. So we'll be keeping the heat and the emotion out, and he'll be updating us on exactly where people stand as much as he knows. And because we do have this kind of axe hanging at the moment, everyone thought it was coming down on Friday, but actually somebody moved the block, and it fell on. To mix my metaphors, it's not fallen on fertile ground. It's fallen. It's just flown off in a weird direction, and nobody knows what's happening for the time being until the constitutional types get their heads together and consider this.
You see, the problem is, and it was like I was explaining because somebody was saying to me, why don't you go to the press? Why don't you go? And I said, because the biggest problem with that is at the minute, the ill feeling towards immigrants.
Yes, well, that's a measured response.
Yeah, it has to be human interest. Are the press going to be interested? But from, like you say, the reaction from the lawyer, from other people, that it's actually been stopped, it does make you wonder, actually, maybe it's just the far right are shouting the loudest, and there's a few of them. And often the people that shout the loudest get heard, whereas the majority you know,
We do
don't.
see this. We do see this, and it's good for sort of media business, and it fuels mass media and social media. My I don't know, it's, suggestion or an inkling I have is that the immigrants, the people who are wanting to continue to enjoy their lives in Portugal, will need to organise themselves and get together to put pressure. I mean, you've been used as a kind of funnel for that, haven't you? People
Yes.
people have come en masse to you, and you've represented. And that's why you got the MBE, of course, and you've been that sort of delivery point and funnel into the British and Portuguese governments. I think we need more of that. We've got to, we do need representation, but before you get representation, you need to organize, don't you? This sounds like, sort of trade union sort of stuff, but it's absolutely right that the foreigners organize themselves rather than randomly just complain to the press or on social media, which will only add petrol to the flames at the moment. You're quite right with that.
It just depends how basically the country is, how it's feeling and how it's sitting,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know this from Nigel Farage, in the UK and whatever. It just totally does depend on what the current views are as to how far it can go. But I mean, if Portugal are taking on a big battle here in lots of respects, because I've taken it to the EU Commission.
You have? Right. What exactly have you taken to the EU Commission?
Basically, because one of the great things is because I'm still involved with Brexit as such, and every so often you have something called the Specialised Committee at the EU Commission, and that deals with all the issues that UK nationals have in Portugal and the other EU countries. Well, of course, I'm highlighting everything about IMA, all the issues, and of course, every single nationality are having them. So,
of course, so that's another form of collecting, organising, and representation, isn't it? Which we mustn't miss.
Absolutely. So that's still ongoing. That was just a couple of weeks ago.
And this new citizenship is another kind of part of that, then, isn't it? It's more evidence of the letdown. Yeah, I want to reiterate a point that Andy's making here. This is so true, and I think it's so important for us to remember this. It's not the Portuguese or Portugal; it's the government. I think it's really important to reiterate that. I don't feel unwelcome. I hope not to, and that comes from the Portuguese people and the culture. They know what it's like to be foreigners in other countries, and they're as peed off with the government as I think many of us are now. What's your view on that, T?
But where did the government get the ideas from? And the thing is look at the rise in the popularity of Chega.
Yeah, understood.
People vote for them, and so I think you're going to have to accept it's a mixture of both, because otherwise Chega wouldn't have been so popular in the recent elections.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's a minority. That said, we would be naive, wouldn't we, to think that we live in a country where everyone's like a far right sort of racist. And we also
oh gosh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we have to accept that there's been a degree and a rise in the far right that has promoted these actions by the government.
And I also think there's an unrest that finds expression through that. And this is part of this whole set piece, isn't it? Across Europe, in the UK, it's like people with genuine concerns are being rolled up into this sort of far right and far left, extremist rhetoric tends to have sane and sort of normal people's concerns. It gets turned into fuel for that extremist fire. We have to be really careful about that. We have to be so careful about that. And that, that's why I wanted to make that defense, if you like. By far and wide, Portuguese people who I meet and mix with and encounter, of course there are some who say, if you don't like it, go home, and they're entitled to do that. We've come to a democracy, haven't we? They of course they and it's great that you can probably have a conversation with some of those people as well and find some sort of understanding at the cafe. We still live in a culture of that kind, thankfully, which seems to be lost in some of the countries we've come from. Yeah. Yes, there are some people who don't want us here. We'd be naive to think so and blame us for the problems of the country. But by and large, I think we have to be so careful that what are genuine concerns about people's countries and infrastructure and their lives don't get used as fuel for these extreme narratives that go on.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
And it does. It does so, doesn't it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, Senor Alim is here. Portugal is part of a democracy failure which has become non-representative. There's that as well. Thank you. And it's the failure of the left that has given rise to the far right. Well, we're going into a particular kind of territory here. Tig, I don't mind having these conversations. However, I don't think this is the right place for it, where we are celebrating your MBE and getting your update for the post-Brexit Brit update for July of 25. The big news, Citizenship.